G'day, rockers. It's Galiso here from the Screaming Jets. We are just about to start touring. Cannot wait. And this is Heavy Magazine.
Yeah, beautiful, Dave. Thanks for joining us, mate.
No worries, mate. Love it.
So it looks like the Screaming Jets will finally get to celebrate the 30th anniversary of your debut album, All for One, in its 31st year. Kicking off in Frankston on July the 2nd, or 22nd, before going through New South Wales, Queensland, WA, and finish it back in Victoria on October the 14th at the Chelsea Heights Hotel. So how frustrating has it been, mate, having to delay the celebration so much?
Oh, it's been very frustrating. Probably more so for Jimmy and Scotty and Paulie and Cam than me, because I've been able to be out there with the Angels and stuff. But, yeah, just constant putting it back. But now it's all in the rearview mirror, and we can just look forward to getting out there and playing as much as we can, mate. There's like we've got this album tour, the re-recorded album, but then we're going to be recording a new album very shortly to take into next year. So it's all Jets firing.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, man, like you have been touring your ass off for the Angels recently, but what about the rest of the guys, mate? Are they going to be match fit? What have they been doing to prepare?
Well, Jimmy's always playing, and Cam does a lot of. Yes, Cam is fit as a fiddle. Paulie and Scotty have been hooking up a bit, so yeah. Look, what I think the nervous energy is going to be unreal, but we are doing like a 3 days rehearsal before we actually get on the road, so we'll be able to work out a few of the kinks and hopefully get back into match fitness.
The 3 days rehearsal, mate, that's going to be more than what you've done in 30 years, isn't it?
Well, that's right, and because we're always on the road and stuff, you kind of just at the start of the tour, you meet up, do a long sound check, and then just move on from there. You know, so we might be over prepared.
And of course, you marked the anniversary of the album by re-recording the classic one with the current lineup. So, how did the fans react to the new version? Were they happy with it?
Yeah, absolutely. We got great feedback about it. Got it back into the charts. It's a second time the same album as number 5 in the top 5 of the ARIA charts, and so it was 2 different recordings of the album. So we're pretty chuffed with that. It was only for a week or so, but it was nice to have that type of action after all these years. And yeah, the fans have been stoked with it. We didn't try to mess around too much with it. We kind of there's a couple of songs that have grown over the live journey. You know, Come On's a bit long. You know, got a lead break in it that it didn't have before, and Shine On goes for 7.5 minutes instead of 5. But that's just because they've kind of grown naturally that way on stage when we play them live. But we didn't stuff around with it too much, and we thought it was a good way to kind of show the love that us boys have for each other, and to share in that kind of experience of re-recording the album.
And how was it for you re-recording all those songs again 30 years later? Like, was it easy to tap back into the younger, angrier, greener persona of Dave Gleason?
Oh, look, I think it's I probably you know, back when back when we first recorded it, recording was the last thing on my mind. I had other stuff to do. I was running amok, let's just say. So you go in, whack down a few vocals, and I'm one of those blokes. I know that people sit there and dissect their vocals and stuff, but I pretty well do 3 tracks and leave. And then Steve James and the rest of the guys would put it together, and then I'd come in and I'd say, oh, that sounds pretty good, you know, because I'm not going to sit there going, oh, that's an amazing line, put that one, I'll make that one gets through, you know. That's up for someone else to decide. So I'll probably put more time and effort into doing a better vocal this time. But obviously, back when I did it, you're full of that kind of juice and as you say, a bit of rage in there. But I think I portrayed the rage in it well enough.
And do the lyrics from that album still mean as much to you today, like after playing them so often?
Oh yeah, I mean, look, I think the thing that we always realise is that if the songs didn't have like a bit of clout, a bit of meaning to them and stuff, then they probably wouldn't have lasted long with our fans and stuff. I mean, I don't know how Warrant would go singing "She's My Cherry Pop." Well,
they wouldn't look at that.
They wouldn't go, actually, because poor old Janie's shuffled off the mortal coil. But yeah, I think our songs are kind of timeless in that they're not about girls or parties or anything like that. But there's Sister T's. Uh, but yeah, look, I think no, I don't really cringe at them. And actually, the last song on the album, the only one, it probably means more to me now than it did when I recorded it, because the first line is there such a thing as senility? And I'm closer to that now than I was.
So you forget that line.
Something. Line, give me a line.
Oh shit! I only actually just realised preparing for this, mate, that the album title is actually half of the Three Musketeers' famous catchline, "All for one, one for all." But surely you didn't name it after that movie, did you?
No, well, that was kind of that was the All for One. We were a gang, that was the kind of thing, and we thought it was a really hip and unused name. But I think the Pretenders had an album called All for One, and there's a few bands that have had them. But no, we were a gang. That's why that album title was what it is, All for One, One for All, because we were out there to take on the world as a bunch of five blokes and didn't care what anyone thought. Of course, there was a review by a guy called John O'Donnell or something like that, or John Watson, and he said the album should be called All for Naught.
Fuck him. Like, fuck, no one suggested to you at the time that you should dress up as the Five Musketeers, mate. Otherwise, you'd be paying the price now.
Don't worry, a stylist probably came up with it. I mean, that was the other thing when we first moved down to Sydney, and you start to realise that stuff just doesn't happen organically. But people didn't accidentally follow U2 around with cameras all through their early years and document all that stuff. It was all it's all engineered, and we found out. You go overseas and you think people from Australia will be going, I wonder what they're doing overseas. They don't give a shit. You're just over there, and unless you're, keeping the narrative alive, it's just happening out in the ether, So we learned a lot of things, and one of the things was stylists come in and say, you should wear this. What do you think about this? And I just said, look, what about I just take my shirt off? What about that?
Show you a nipple or two.
Not anymore, but back in the day, shirts off.
Back then, mate, like, you only released Fat Rich Cunts to a limited audience, but the ones who got it loved the track, mate. So are you tempted this time around to release a new recording globally?
Oh, mate, I'll tell you, we fought tooth and nail to have that album, that song included on the first album. They were the Ruard going, no, it's just not, you're not going to have it. And I'm like, well, I just, being me, I just stuck my heels in and said it's on or that, or the album doesn't come out. So in the end, they gave up on it. But then I reckon in an act of bastardry, because we had a terrible relationship with Ruart, the first thing that they released overseas was an FRC EP.
All right.
And anyone who's been to America knows you can't sell that word. There's no way you can frame that word that makes people go, oh, I get it. Right. Yeah, I see what you're talking about now. As soon as you say it, it's like you're kicking them in the nuts, mate. And so, I think it was an act of bar. I think the record company was like, all right, then, well, let's see how this goes in the States. Not well.
And anyone who's seen you on stage personally, mate, like, knows that the animal within that gets set loose. So do you have any pre-show rituals you go through to switch on, or is that just you 24/7?
I bang me chest, Z. I'd yell and scream and have a few jacks, and it's kind of, there's no real kind of science to it. I can't sit still before a show. I just walk round and round and round, and as I say, thump me chest. My daughter saw it about when she was a little kid, and and I go whoa, whoa, and she secretly me hocking and said, "Does he always do that?" Jimmy's like, yeah. So she thinks Dad's a bit of a nut job.
He knows him well then. So have you ever actually physically hurt yourself on stage?
Yes, I do. It's been something that I've done throughout my career, is knees, ankles. But once again, never heavy enough. have to stop or anything like that. I've come on stage on crutches and I just drop them at the side of stage, and then it's like the adrenaline takes over, and I can do the show, and then after it's over, I limp off and lie in a corner somewhere.
And here's one for you, mate. What's the closest you've ever come to being locked up on tour? I think I know the answer, but we'll see what you got.
I got locked up on tour. In the first band aspect, we did a mini tour up through Coffs Harbour and that, and we got to the Hoey Moey at Coffs Harbour, legendary venue, and we'd been double booked with strippers. So guess who won? Guess who got to play that night? Not us. So we just we went to a pub in town that our manager at the time knew a guy that worked there. Starts banging on the door, and the guy comes out. He sees me mate Jimbo, gives him a wave like, oh, and turns around, and we think he must have gone back to get a key or something like that. 30 seconds later, the police station's just around the corner. Woo! They come out. They go, what are you blokes doing? We're going, oh, we wait for a mate in here. And they're going, no, that guy just called us to come and get you and take us away.
Wow.
So we spent the night in the police cell, and they set us free at about 6 o'clock in the morning, middle of summer, knowing full well that that they told our guys that was with us to come and up at 9:30. So we ended up in a bit of bother, but nothing stuck. It was no big charges.
No. What about a little incident up in Port Douglas with a
I know nothing.
Let's move on.
There might be a warrant out for that.
I cannot confirm nor deny it.
I'll plead Sergeant Schultz on that one.
All right, mate, we'll finish up with a bit of a serious one then. You mentioned before about a new Jets album, mate. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, mate, we've been compiling a bunch of tracks. I've been writing heaps of lyrics, and Paulie and Scotty have been getting together and doing a bunch of stuff. Cam actually went into the studio with Steve James about 3 or 4 months ago and just put a bunch of jams down on drum tracks and that. And yeah, we can't wait to get together, get in the same room, start nutting out ideas. And once we've got all the songs together and stuff, it'll be a very quick process. We like to get in, get on, get out, go off, something. And so next year will be a brand new Jets album. I know we promised it prior to the lockdown, prior to the shit hitting the fan, but yeah, once we're all together and we can get in a room and spend a bit of quality time together on the piss and that, we should be able to knock out a new album.
Beautiful, Dave. All right, mate. Well, thanks very much for your time today. Always a pleasure, mate. I'll catch up with you Sunday for a beer, but in the meantime, the Jets All for One 30th anniversary tour kicks off July 22nd in Frankston, and check all the socials for details.
Rock on. Cheers, Chris. Thanks, mate.
See you this weekend, brother.
Cheers, mate. I'll see you then.